This is VK6ARN, Newswest. We are a community organisation and we've been serving up the best amateur radio news in Australia since 1931. Hi there, it's Clinton, VK6SCRC, and welcome to Newswest for the 30th of June 2024. Now on with the show.
Hello from Dennis, VK6AKR for the WA VHF Group Incorporated. Rather than talk so much about the goings-on in the club today, I'd like to focus your attention on the lower VHF region, namely 6 metres, 2 metres and 70 centimetres. For the ones of you with 23 centimetre capability, so much the better. Last weekend we had the UHF VHF Field Day. When I first joined the hobby 10 years ago, I remember these field days were very active affairs, even pile-ups sometimes. However, over the last few years particularly, the participation rate has fallen off. Regardless of it being spring, summer or the winter events. So weather might not have much to do with it. And I would really like to know why this reduced participation is so, and what we, the amateur community here in VK6, can do to encourage more of us to join in the fun. And it is fun. It is a contest in name only, it is not an aggressive race to the top. On Saturday the 22nd, when I was enjoying the event, I had QSOs with a total of 8 amateurs. All but one are members of the WA VHF group. That's great news for the group, but there are many UHFers and VHFers outside of my club, and it is from these good folks that I would like to hear more taking part on air. Perhaps there were regional pockets of amateurs, say in the south, the goldfields, the north, and so on, who could not make simplex contacts with the metro area. Such is the nature of these bands. I was curious and sent an email to WA Hams asking for feedback from people in any regions outside of the metro area, but I heard no replies. Sadly, I conclude that maybe the turnout there was minimal. In Professor Julius Sumner Miller's famous words, "Why is it so?" and more especially, do we want to encourage more on-air activity, and if so, how can we go about that? It would be good to see the topic aired, so to speak, on WA Hams. After all, it is our forum for robust conversations about AR. Let us try to do something to stimulate interest. Regardless if you have just qualified, have a long experience in the hobby or somewhere in between, I invite you to get on air next Saturday the 6th of July. Some of us will be operating from Wireless Hill using a variety of call signs, our own as /Ps, the club's VK6WH and VK6VF, as well as the special event call signs VK100-6WF and VK100-COX. We will be on 6 metres, 2 metres and 70 centimetres, and if there is sufficient interest, on that wonderful 23 centimetre band too. We will use the simplex frequencies that are well known and published for the RD and other contests here in VK6. Let us use FM because that allows the widest range of rigs, including the economical handhelds, to be used. So next Saturday the 6th, we can start at midday and go through until say 4 o'clock local time. Make as many contacts on the bands as you can. There's no refractory period. There's no waiting 2 hours between the same contacts, but please allow others to jump into the event. Encourage freshly licensed ones to press the PTT button and join in. Do exchanges, make mistakes. That is how we learn. Simple or no logging, in case the concept of logging is intimidating as it was to me the first few times, and no prizes per se, other than the satisfaction of getting on air and making contact with like-minded people. Apologies to the regional folks. Unless the propagation is miraculous, I would not think that you could join in our fun. But why not organise your own VHF Plus events? And let us publish small conversations or two on the WA Hams in the days following to exchange your results and experiences. If you had some really spectacular thing to report upon, consider offering a short talk at Perth Tech coming up in September. I am sure that Bob, VK6POP and the organisers would like to hear from you. For example, a theoretically impossible path on 70 centimetres that drove 5x9 results on low power. I recently had a 56 kilometre QSO on 23 centimetres, 5x9, with club member Kevin VK6KQ. The geography, buildings in the path, low power and simple folded dipole antenna borrowed from Alistair VK6ATX and held aloft for the occasion by Walter VK6WJH should not have reached that distance, but reach it did. Enough air bashing from me. I hope it will encourage some QSOs next Saturday. 73 from Dennis VK6AKR for the WAVHF Group Incorporated and hopefully for the wider enjoyment of AR in the VK6 community. Thank you for listening.
We recently announced the date for Perth Tech. It's on Saturday, September the 21st, and again it will be held at the Gidgee Recreation Centre. The day usually starts early, around 8:30 a.m, with the presentations, and it's followed by a sundowner at 5:30 p.m. after a long day. For those who would like to be on site early for the start and be able to stay for the sundowner without worrying about the drive home after dark and a drink or two, we offer sites for caravans and campers. There's a small fee for camping, which is 100% passed on to the venue managers. We have not yet set a fee for Perth Tech and will advise you on this later. What we need now for Perth Tech is to get some presenters lined up to ensure that the program is interesting and entertaining. If you're interested in making a presentation at Perth Tech, drop us a line. We have an email address. It's perthtech@vk6.net. Perth Tech, PERTHTECH. Perth Tech at vk6.net. Perth Tech at vk6.net. We'll keep the website updated. That's the website at vk6.net, and we'll advise you by all the usual channels when the bookings are open. Meanwhile, we're working on a fundraiser that will keep the costs down. You recall that we offer Perth Tech free to anybody that comes, so you only need to pay for lunch. However, there are real costs in putting on a show like this in such a good venue. When we do launch the fundraiser, we'd like to think we have the support of the wider amateur radio community. After all, you're all invited to Perth Tech. You won't receive a personalised invitation printed on the finest gilt-edged card delivered to your letterbox. That's not going to happen. So don't wait for that. Just make up your mind. Set aside the date, which is Saturday, September the 21st, and then register when we open up registrations. Attendance is by registration and walk-ins will not be admitted. We'll deliver more information as it comes to hand. Stay tuned and visit our website vk6.net regularly. Oh, and please tell your amateur radio colleagues. Would you believe it? Some amateurs don't listen to the news. They don't read emails or view the socials. Go figure. I'm Bob VK6PRP and I'm the president of WA Amateur Radio News.
Time is passing quickly, and as the sun doesn't stop rising and setting, it's time to dust off your calendars. Grab a permanent marker and write it in. The NCRG Hamfest is on again come August 25th, 2024. You won't be surprised to find the event at the Cyril Jackson Rec Centre at the end of Fisher Street in Bassendean. What else do we love about Hamfest? The raffle. This year the raffle will have 4 prizes. An Andrews communication voucher worth $2,000. A Yaesu FTM 300, $699. A Yaesu FT70DR worth $299. And if Yaesu isn't your brand, there's a $100 voucher from Horizon Antennas. Tickets are $5 per entry, available for sale across New South Wales, the NT, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, and of course, Western Australia. You'll have to wait another month or two for the raffle start date of the 25th of June, with the raffle ending at 12 noon on the 25th of August at the NCRG Hamfest. Start saving, with full details appearing on the NCRG website before the raffle starts. I'm Glenn, Victor Kilo 6, Papa Alpha Whiskey for the Northern Corridor Radio Group. 7-3.
Hi, just a little note about VK6RRG and the WAG Technical and General Net. Having it run every Sunday morning on VK6RLM, that's 146.750 or Channel 3 in the old money. And it starts at 10:30 a.m. this morning. Of course, if you're listening in the evening, it's next week.
This is Newswest, your amateur radio news on VK6ARN, originating on the Newswest linked repeater network and HF relays.
If you happen to listen to the right part of the 80 metre band on a Tuesday evening, you might hear something that sounds like this. The CQQRS net has been running every single Tuesday for the last 2 years and has been unbelievably popular. There are usually half a dozen, and a couple of times up to 18 stations, popping in and out when they can over the 4 or 5 hours. The aim is to encourage new CW operators to have a go at slow CW in a safe and really friendly environment, where slow speed and lots of mistakes are par for the course. It's all about having a go, starting with a basic call sign and RST exchange, then over time getting better and better. The net also attracts its fair share of old-timers who enjoy helping others to have a go or just to enjoy the banter. So this might be just the opportunity you've been waiting for to have a go at transmitting on CW, or perhaps just to stop the contacts rusting up on your key. Doesn't matter whether you're brand new to the code or if you're an old-timer who would like to have a bit of fun and help encourage new operators by having simple, safe QSOs at their speed, we'd love to have you join in. The net starts at 0900 Zulu every Tuesday on 80 metres between 3540 and 3570 kHz, and there's stations in the west, east and in between listening out for your CQQRS call. For more information, and to receive our weekly CQQRS RagTune newsletter, contact me, Mark, VK6QI, via my email address on qrz.com, or you can email me direct, mark.bosma@icloud.com. That is mark.bosma@icloud.com. Too much switch mode power supply hash on 80 metres? This might be the incentive to do something about it. With a cheap noise canceller costing less than $100, 80 metres could be easier than you think. So once again, Tuesdays from 0900 Zulu until late, between 3540 kHz and 3570 kHz. Cheers from Mark, VK2KI and VK6QI.
Foundations of Amateur Radio. The recent incident at the ARRL, in which it disclosed that it was the victim of a sophisticated network attack by a malicious international cyber group, brings into focus some serious questions around our community in relation to identity and privacy. Let's start with your call sign. Right now, in Australia, you can use the official register to look for VK6FLAB. When you do, you'll discover that it's assigned to Foundation. That's it. No mention of who holds it, where it's registered, or how to contact the holder. None of that. In the case of my call sign, because I haven't surrendered my apparently now legally useless license, you can still search the previous system, the Register of Radio Communications Licenses, and discover that it's held by me. But as soon as it expires, that record will vanish, and the relationship between me and my call sign will be lost to the public. Also, there are no dates associated with any of this. You cannot use the current or previous system to discover if I held my call sign in November 2010 or not. In case you're wondering, no, I didn't. I was licensed a month later. Right now, if you look for Victor Kilo 6 Echo Echo November on QRZ.com, you'll see that it's linked to Charlie Tango 1 Echo Echo November. But when was that information last updated? I know for a fact that I became the holder in November 2020. It appears that Sam, Charlie Tango 1 Echo Echo November, used it around the turn of the century, about 24 years ago, but precisely when and for how long is unclear. So, from a public disclosure perspective, the links between me and my call signs are tenuous at best. Before I continue, I will point out that this is not unusual. For example, you can see the number plate on my car as I drive down the street. but most people don't have the ability to link it to me. Similarly, Ofcom in the United Kingdom released a list of allocated amateur call signs after a Freedom of Information request. It's unclear if this information is updated or if it requires a new request each time. Like Australia, the dataset contains the call sign, the type of license, and when the record was last updated. Nothing else. In contrast, the United States has a full license search that returns name, address, issue, and expiry dates. Japan offers both a search tool and downloads. Interestingly, you can see if a call sign was previously licensed and when, but not by whom. No doubt, each country has their own interpretation in relation to how this is handled, and as was the case in Australia, this is ever-changing. This leaves us with an interesting phenomenon. We use call signs on air to identify ourselves, but the relationship between the call sign and our identity, let alone when, is not guaranteed for a significant proportion of the amateur community. So, how does this relate to the ARRL incident? Radio amateurs like to make contacts with each other and collect those contacts like you might collect stickers or postage stamps. For decades we've used QSL cards, essentially a postcard sent from one amateur to another, to confirm a contact. When you collect enough cards, you can apply for an award, like the DXCC, showing that you made contact with 100 different so-called DX entities. In the era of computing, some organisations, like the ARRL, came up with the idea of using the internet to exchange these contacts instead of using a postcard. This reduced delays and was presented as a system to make the process more secure, by requiring that people electronically sign their contacts, but could only do so after identifying themselves using traditional means, like providing copies of their licence, their passport, etc. The ARRL called it Logbook of the World, or LOTW, and it was adopted by the amateur community around the globe. While the ARRL continues to state that it only holds public information on its member database, it has made no such assurances about the LOTW system. There is personal and private information that the ARRL has, and there is no indication at all what happened to it. Other systems, such as QRZ, EQSL, Clublog and Hamlog, offer similar systems with various levels of authentication and verification. A new player, HQSL, is confusing the issue by offering cryptographically signed QSL cards, boasting that their system is decentralized and not restricted to any single service, but immediately requires that you sign up with Hamlog to get going. So we have several organizations offering electronic logging, contact confirmation and security, which claim to guarantee that this call sign contacted that call sign at a time and date on a band using a mode. One problem. None of this is real. For starters, there is no guarantee that the station operating Victor Kilo 6 Foxtrot Lima Alpha Bravo was me. There is also no record guaranteeing that I'm the holder of Victor Kilo 6 Foxtrot Lima Alpha Bravo, or any proof that I am who I say I am. There is also no guarantee that the person confirming a contact between Victor Kilo 6 Foxtrot Lima Alpha Bravo and you is me. So we're creating a phantom secure system that's attempting to fix the wrong problem. In golf, when you start playing for rankings, rather than a round at the 19th hole, the process used to verify your score is dependent on peer review. You cannot mark your own scorecard, someone else does. In amateur radio, we've built this electronic house of cards to track whom we've talked to and when, but it's a mirage when looked at closely. While a DXCC award is worth nothing more than a personal achievement, we cannot go on pretending that identity verification services like LOTW are real, nor can we continue to accept that organisations like the ARRL should demand and store valuable identity information. I'm Ono, Victor Kilo 6 Foxtrot Lima Alpha Bravo.
This is Newswest. your amateur radio news on VK6ARN, originating on the Newswest linked repeater network and HF relays.
You may notice that Newswest has been light on for content lately, and I've been playing a lot of repeat stories, but you can help us to change that by sending your stories or contributions through to newswest at vk6.net.
Happy New Year! Whoop whoop! Well, it is for some. Is today the end of your club's financial year? Your treasurer and committee should start work soon on preparation of the club financials to present to the AGM. Most clubs' financials aren't too complex unless for some reason they've been made so. You ought to be able to operate on a simple cash book and a simple report consisting of a statement of income and expenditure, just by category, and you don't need to produce several pages of every transaction for the last 12 months. You'll also need to produce a statement of financial position, which in the old days was called a balance sheet. It's a summary of what the club owns, usually cash in the bank, and what it owes, and usually that's zero because we all seem to work on a cash accounting basis. Follow the KISS principle, keep it simple, and everyone will be happy. Less is more. If your report is crammed with minute detail, nobody will thank you for it. Make it simple and uncluttered so the members can see at a glance how the club is travelling financially. Now on to some more interesting stuff. RASA is the Radio Amateur Society of Australia. We are an amateur radio representative body in Australia, and in addition to our representation to the ACMA on amateur radio rules and regulations and other stuff, we're the leading developer in Australia of free resources for amateurs. These resources are available to anyone who is interested. No pay, no membership required, although we always welcome new members. RASA's Foundation Level Study Guide, which was launched early this month, has passed 400 downloads of the PDF version. There's been a wide interest shown in this multimedia online book. It's available as an online magazine and as a PDF download. This study guide is a first for amateur radio in Australia. Have you looked at it yet? Do you know someone who is interested in entering the hobby? Point them at this study guide. It's at our website, vkradioamateurs.org. And while you're there, have a look around for yourself. There's plenty there to see, and it's free. RASA also produces the QTC magazine, a quarterly online magazine for amateurs. QTC is a Morse code Q code, which means I have a message for you. The June edition of QTC is published now and is available as an online, flip the pages on the screen magazine and as a PDF download. And inside the magazine and on the PDF download, there are clickable links that you can follow, including clickable links on the table of contents at the beginning. The big difference with QTC is that it contains live links to resources and interesting stuff. This edition of QTC has a detailed explanation of the class license and of the changes to call sign prefixes for external territories. There's a comprehensive story on the history of national amateur radio societies, a story of a recent de-expedition to Vanuatu, a story about artificial intelligence, writing stories, and much more. QTC is free. Visit the RASA website, vkradioamateurs.org, to download or view your copy of QTC. You want me to run that by you again? vkradioamateurs, it's one big long word, vkradioamateurs.org. And while you're there, have a look around what else is on offer. I'm Bob VK6POP and I'm the Vice President of RASA.
Good morning, this is Roy VK6 X-Ray Victor with this week's Hotline, the 30th of June 2024. I have one here from Clinton, VK6 Foxtrot Charlie Romeo Charlie. He's helping his friend's widow clean out a shack, and he was known on CB as Jason Foster Radio 351. Ellie, his widow, has custody at the moment. A Marla hit DSP SCR receiver with waterfall display for sale. $180 is all asking, and you may contact Ellie. Also has a Lexan W898 Sierra transceiver. That's a LEIXEN W898, I think it is, Sierra amateur transceiver. Unsure of the price of this at this stage, and there's a heap of other items there as well, both amateur and CB. If you're interested, please contact Clinton and he can fill in the details for you. That's Clinton VK6 Fox Charlie Romeo Charlie. His email address is foxcharlieromeocharlie@gmail.com. and he can pass it on to Ellie or his friend's widow. Thank you. Not sure if Keith VK6 Kilo Bravo still has a IC718, an ICOM IC718 for sale, $425. Comes with microphone and power lead. Superb radio for a new ham. Anyone interested, please contact Keith on his email, which is Keith, Keith, at vk6eme.com. Keith, that's Kilo Echo India Tango Hotel at vk6echomikeecho.com. If you have any items for next week, please contact me by email. vk6xrayvictor at bigpond.com is the address for the disposal helpline. vk6xrayvictor at bigpond.com. Until next week, 7-3 from me.
Hi there, it's Clinton, VK6FCRC, back with you. And did you know that Newswest is now on YouTube? Type in youtube.com/@Newswest weekly podcast Kilo Zulu 7 Yankee Charlie. Oh, and before I go, I'd like to thank those watching on YouTube or ATV, the readers, and you for listening. I'd also like to thank our team, the broadcasters, and those submitting content each week. Please stand by now for callbacks after the broadcast, or head over to the VK6.net website and fill out the forms so we know how many people are listening each week.